Waves much bigger than Sunday's earthquake-based waves.
And it's going to be big enough to involve the entire Atlantic Ocean.
Scientists do agree we need a global tsunami warning system like the one in the Pacific. Sensing devices on the ocean floor that can tell if a giant wave is moving in the deep ocean, and then relay the message to buoys on the surface. They send a message by satellite to monitoring stations, and then to places like Cannon Beach, Oregon. They test periodically that tsunami siren, but instead of the real siren, they use a recording of a cow.
Test.
So that people won't actually head for the hills.
If you talk to people about disasters, they're going to say tornadoes, hurricanes, thunderstorms, lightning strikes. In most cases, you're going to get warning on those kinds of situations, or you're at least going to know that they're in the neighborhood and there's the possibility of it. This is something that starts underground. What happens underground, we're not watching as carefully, as closely, because there hasn't been as much activity. There hasn't been as much damage. Now that there's a greater need, people will probably respond.
And a warning is about all science can do right now, although tsunami experts desperately wish we could do it in every ocean and everywhere. Professor McGuire says he hopes that Spain, which controls the Canary Islands, will start monitoring Cubra Vieja again. His group will be watching.
We're in fact planning to use radar satellite imagery, maybe look at the volcano on a regular basis to see how it's deforming in the future.
So how real is all this? Walls of water rushing across the ocean? Well, some scientists say we might as well worry about an asteroid hitting the Earth or being struck by lightning. All possible, but not likely. Of course, the hard reality is there's no way to prevent a tsunami.
But there are certain types of tsunamis that can strike so suddenly and with such force that even the most sophisticated system would be unable to provide a warning.
Here in the Hawaiian Islands, where all of the land is built by volcanic eruptions, the islands grow up from the sea floor, and then periodically the sides slide back down onto the ocean floor. They've created magnificent cliffs along the sides of all of the islands in the chain. But when those chunks of the island slide off onto the Pacific Ocean floor, it's huge landslides and debris flows. They have the potential to generate giant destructive tsunamis. And there's evidence that they have created waves as high as 1,000 feet on some of the islands in the past.
These landslide waves may be part of Hawaii's future as well as its past. Here on the Big Island, a huge crack in the earth is opening up. It's 60 miles long, and it's growing wider every year. Some scientists think it's gradually detaching one side of the island from the other.
The Great Crack is one of these fault zones. At one time it may have actually had magma in it, but now it's probably serving more like a hinge where part of the island is beginning to slide down and may someday slip away toward the ocean floor.
A 1,000-foot tsunami on the coast of Hawaii would be catastrophic. But a giant tsunami could happen anywhere, even without earthquakes, volcanoes, or landslides. A few scientists are beginning to examine another possible cause, extremely remote, but terrifying.
Recently, the effects of a meteor impact have been studied. Depending on the size of the meteor, you could have some very destructive waves generated by a splashing of a meteor in the ocean. You could have a wave formed hundreds of feet high. It is probably the surprise no one's prepared for.
A giant tsunami generated by a meteor may only happen once every few thousand years.
This is the Hawaiian island of Oahu. Professor Gary McMurtry from the University of Hawaii believes a landslide 2 million years ago here on this island created a wave possibly several kilometers in height, devastating the west coast of the Americas.
Half the volcano is missing. It's out at sea. There are huge landslide blocks. It was probably one of the largest, if not the largest, landslide ever on the planet. Over 3,000 cubic kilometers. It must have created a huge tsunami.
Once scientists understood that landslides into water could produce mega tsunami, the hunt was on to find out where the next massive landslide would occur. Geologists knew that large volcanic islands have a tendency to collapse. The search led to a volcanic island which shows disturbing signs of instability. And this is it, La Palma, sitting off the west coast of North Africa in the Canary Islands. British scientist Dr. Duncan Kopp has studied the research and has travelled to the island to see for himself.
If you look to the east, this part is much higher than the western part. The throw here is about 4